chapter 2 of Hashirim, Song of Songs, verse 1. I am the rose of Sharon, the lily of the valleys. As I have mentioned, this flower represents Israel. So she's saying that she's Israel. I am the rose of Sharon. So like a rose, like a lily. Sharon, Shushanat Hamakim of the valleys. Let me go see these two words in Hebrew to show something else. So Sharon, a plain, a level. You see, it comes from Yashar, which is something that is straight. So it's pretty much saying that she's straight, the straight one, obedient, righteous. And then, well, that is the word used for rose here. Chabat Selet. So it's a type of flower like the lily. And like I said, it represents Israel. Because of the letters, we could see that it would represent something that is protected or protects the house, the temple, with righteousness and instruction, and is sealed. I am the rose of Sharon. So a flower, remember that the flowers are the honor of a plant, the esteem, honor, splendor of a plant, like the clothing that covers it. Just like when a person has too much honor in this world, at least they tend to wear stuff that is expensive and nice looking. So that's why, and I mentioned that because Mashiach made a reference and spoke about how the flowers of a plant or the lilies look way better than Shlomo did with his clothing, no matter how much honor he had. So if the flowers that dry and are nothing in a while are so amazing, imagine what Yahweh will do for us and how he will cover us with such honor, esteem, and splendor. So she's pretty much saying, I am the splendor, the honor of the righteous. That would be the Ruach. Israel, the lily, the people, the congregation of the valleys. And also we could say once again, the splendor while in a valley. Remember, valleys are connected to the shadow of death, or we don't even have to take it to that extreme, right? Because of the Psalm, but with being low, right? Because it's the opposite of the mountains, getting high to the Father. But when you're in a valley, you feel low, you feel away from the Father, you feel like you're alone. So the Ruach is the one that will help us in the valleys that we may go through in life. So I am the rose of Sharon, the lily of the valleys. Like a lily among thorns, so is my love among the daughters. Right? Like a lily among thorns. So the daughters, the other congregations, because of their sins, they are like thorns. But the chosen congregation is filled with splendor, honor, esteem because of the Ruach, and it is therefore a flower, a lily. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest. In this case would be Israel among the other nations. The apple tree, according to the Midrash and other teachings, represents Israel because the apple tree gives fruit before leaves. So it is kind of backwards. And just like Israel is the nation that accepted the Torah when other nations rejected it, And the other nations basically said, what is in the Torah? And then we'll figure out if we want it. Tell us what it says, and then we'll tell you if we want it. So if a nation was they would like to steal, when Yahweh will get to the commandment that says do not steal, they will be like, oh no, we actually like to steal, so we don't want to adhere to that Torah, to that instruction. But when Yahweh offered the Torah to Israel, Israel said, we will do and we will hear. Right? We will do and we will hear. And that seems to be backwards because we said we will do before we hear what we were supposed to do. And that is wonderful if you remain obedient. But for those who are not, who say, we will do, now give it to me. And then they said, oh, no, we're not going to be able to do this. But you already made the covenant, right? So that was the issue. But when it comes to those who are righteous, it is perfect for us to think like that. Yeah, Father, we will do it. Now, what is it that we must do? Right? Because that shows obedience. So the people said, we will do and we will hear. So it is like saying we will give fruit and then we will give leaves. We will first give fruit and then grow leaves. We will learn how later on to do that which we must do. And that also was kind of prophecy because they started doing without knowing what they were supposed to do. So they did the commandments in the wrong way, according to the letter and commandments of men. But then came Mashiach, and he is the word. And faith comes through hearing, and hearing by the word. So Mashiach came as the word to be heard so that we could actually do what we were doing wrong, now do it right. Hope that's understood. But the fact that it is written that Israel said we will do and we will hear connects Israel to the apple tree and the apple to the Torah. So it gives fruit first before it gives leaves. Also, it is said that it is the tree that gives least amount of shadow. Pretty much doesn't work for shadow. All the other trees work for shadow except the apple tree. And that is connected, it is said, at least in Judaism, that the root of the apple tree is emet, which is truth. In the tree of life, it is tiferet, that represents the sun. So it represents light. That's why it's connected with truth that has no shadow. Truth is all light without shadow, like it says scriptures about Yahweh, that he has no shadow in him. So the apple tree that gives almost no shadow is connected to the truth. So it also connects with the true, of course, interpretation of the Torah. So also when you think about it, remember that they use the apple as the fruit of knowledge. Scripture doesn't say it was the apple, but it is the most common idea that it was an apple. I repeat, scripture does not say it was an apple. But with everything that I just said regarding how the giving of the Torah is connected with the apple, isn't it interesting that the Torah is the one that says what is good and what is bad? It is the knowledge of good and evil. And in Judaism, they connect the Torah with the apple, and Israel with the apple tree. So, like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the songs. So, like a lily among thorns, like the splendor, the honor, the beauty in between the ugliness of sin, so is the true congregation among the bad congregations. So is the virgin among the whores, right? As the book of Revelation talks about the harlots. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the sons. Once again, the trees of the forest like the nations, Israel like the apple tree. Yahushua is the truth. And like I mentioned, the apple tree is connected with truth, for it gives no shadow. And as they say, at least in Judaism. So is my beloved among the sons. So is Yahushua, who is the truth among men. And he is the one who fulfills the Torah, represented by the apple. His fruit, the fruit of Mashiach, was the fulfillment of the Torah. I delighted in his shade and sat down. You see, now it says shade, right? Look at this. That Tzemach Tzedek explains that every month corresponds to one of the 13 attributes of mercy. So it says, the Talmud relates, why were the Yahudim people likened to an apple tree? It is to tell you that just as this apple tree its fruit begins to grow before it leaves, so did the Yahudim declare, we will do before we will hear. Like the apple which buds even before leaves are grown, our ancestors expressing their willingness to obey Elohim without even knowing what he would demand. When we eat the apple, we are asking Elohim, well, that is referring to the tradition of eating an apple on Yom Teruah. And he says that Tzemach Tzedek explains that every month corresponds to one of the 13 attributes of mercy. Tishri, which is the month that we are right now, Eitanim, the 7th month, corresponds to the attribute of Emet, truth. For in the 7th month, the essence, the celestial essence, is revealed without any hindrance or contraction. And through our repentance and teshuvah in this month, we reach Atzmut. Basically, through Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, we reach the essence of the celestial. Song of Songs states, as an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the sons. In his shade I delighted and sat, and his fruit was sweet to my palate. The Midrash comments on this verse that the apple tree does not give off shade, and the commentaries explain that its shade is very minute. The mystics say that shade represents a contracted level of makif, the surrounding or transcendental aspect of the celestial emanation. All the fruit trees receive their celestial energy from this level of revelation, with the exception of the apple tree. So all trees are connected to the makif, the surrounding or the transcendental aspect of the celestial emanation. But the apple is rooted in tiferet, which is splendor, beauty, balance, and other words that are connected to the word tiferet, and receives directly from the level of emet, which has no shade. Thus we eat an apple alluding to the level of emet through which we can reach the essence of the celestial. So the point is, which is what one of the reasons why I was mentioning so much, it is said that among the trees, that's the one that gives shade the least. Obviously has to give shade because it has matter, but compared to the other ones, is just a little bit of shade. But that shade that the tree would give, which is referred to in the book, would mean that it is being under the truth, being under Mashiach. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the sons. I delighted in his shade and sat down, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. His works, the works of Mashiach, his fulfillment of the Torah, which, since I already came here, let me see. Also, well, what I was saying here explains that one of the reasons for blowing the shofar on, they say Rosh Hashanah, but as we know is Yom Teruah, is that when the Torah was given, there was a great shofar blast. Similarly, some explain that the verse in Song of Songs, under the apple tree arouse you, is a reference to the giving of the Torah. So just as on Yom Teruah, we blow the shofar as a remembrance of the giving of the Torah, we eat the apple at night. So I repeat, this tradition, but the reason why is because they connect the apple to the giving of the Torah. Here we have a little bit more. The word apple is the commonly accepted translation of tapua from the root napa, to exhale the sweet scented. It is of pleasant smell. It's interesting, which connects also with the giving of the Torah. As the apple tree ripens its fruit in the month of Sivan, so did Israel display the fragrance at Mount Sinai on Sivan, right? The third month of Shavuot. And as you can see also, from the first blossoming until the ripening of the fruit is 50 days, which is also the time between Bikurim and the giving of the Torah and Shavuot. And there are some other connections that they make with it. I'll just leave it here. So continuing, like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the sons, Mashiach among humans. The truth, I delighted in his shade and sat down, right? The congregation should be delighted to be under him as sovereign. No matter what shade the other trees give, we should want to be under the shade of Mashiach. And when it comes to Mashiach as the one giving the shade, that would be the tree of life, of course. The last, who is represented by Shlomo, who wrote this book, would be the tree of knowledge. So it's interesting that one can also find a connection with the tree of knowledge and the apple tree. So like an apple tree among the trees of the forest. Remember also that the trees of the forest can be interpreted as the 144,000. We've seen that in previous studies. So like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is like the last among the 144,000, just like Yahweh promised Moshe, I will raise a prophet like you from the midst of your brothers. So is my beloved among the sons, among the children of Yahweh. The beloved will be like the apple tree. I delighted in his shade and sat down, right? In the shade of the truth, or in the sense of the last, the shade of knowledge, and sat down to learn, to grow. And his fruit was sweet to my taste, and his works and his teachings were sweet to my taste, just like the word of Yahweh is sweet to the mouth, because it is as honey. Reason why they unite apples and honey, and that's what they eat on Rosh Hashanah. Well, Yom Teruah, which they call Rosh Hashanah. He brought me to the house of wine, and his banner over me was love. Verse 4. He brought me to the house of wine, right? The house where they would drink wine, but also connected with the house of joy. Bediglo Ali Ahava. And his banner over me was love. So he pretty much is saying that he conquered her. Just like when a person would conquer a nation and would put his flag, just like they claim they went to the moon, and what they did was put the flag of the United States, right? So when a person would go into a country and conquer it, then they would put the flag. So that's what is being said here. Just like when a male conquers a female, right? They become one by the sexual relation. So this could be interpreted as the fact that they went in to become one. He brought me to the house of wine, and his banner over me was love. He conquered me with love. He covered me with love. Strengthen me with raisin cakes. Refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. Right? So she is so in love, she's fainting. And she's asking for him to help her to regain strength with raisin cakes, right? Raisins are dried grapes. So once again, connects with Israel, with joy, but it doesn't have the the wine anymore, obviously, for they are dry. Strengthen me with raisin cakes. Refresh me with the apples. So once again, could we see that as with the Torah? Refresh me with the Torah. Refresh me with the teaching of scriptures. For I am faint with love. Here, when it says refresh me, it's kind of saying heal me with apples, right? And as we know, the Torah is medicine for our bones. There was something else I wanted to see. Raisins. Ashishot. Yeah, it connects with joy. Once again, let me see it real quick. Well, I had not seen the Shushan. I forgot. And this actually goes with what I was just about to see. Hashisha. Hashisha would be raisin cakes. Or a flagon of wine. Here we have fire. And here we have joy. So we see how it connects with enjoyment. Also connects with being pressed down, just like the grapes need to be pressed down for the wine to come out. And isn't it interesting that the fire of Yah, the fire of Yah, is the one who is going to press down Ashish, the grapes in the winepress of the wrath. So then my point that it was connected with Shushan, look how Shish is right in the middle, and here we have Shush, right? And like I said, well, Shush is, look at this, rejoice, to exalt. That will be the root of the lily, word that is translated as lily, Shushan, which also connects with Esther, the book of Esther. And remember that these three letters, which we just saw, are to rejoice. These three letters are the upper part of our logo of the congregation, right? The menorah. That's why we are the congregation of joy. We rejoice all the time, right? They don't like it, but we do. So let me go back. So strengthen me with raisin cakes, as in with joy, with wine, with your blood, his sacrifice. And also that could be connected with the resurrection of the many, while refresh me with apples, the transformation of the few, for I am faint with love. His left hand is under my head, and his right hand embraces me. Right? So the literal is obvious, right? In the spiritual, the left hand is under my head. So the last holds the head, which would be the last gives testimony of Mashiach to the congregation, holding the head of the congregation. And his right hand, Yahushua, the first, embraces me. To embrace, you need more than a hand. You need arms, right? So it is pretty much saying that your arm embraces me. You will know Yahushua is the arm of Yahweh. Now, let me see the word here, verse 6. His left under my head. So like I said, like the last who gives testimony of Yahushua, the head, and therefore holds the congregation. And his right hand and his right, Techavkeni, and his right embraces me. This would be embrace, Chabak, from Habakkuk, or the root of Habakkuk, the prophet. So, and his right hand, he embraces me. And with his right hand, he embraces me. It is not saying arm or hand is just saying left and right. Just so you guys know. So it's pretty much saying with his left under my head and his right hand embracing me. So first and last, I always mention how Mashiach is the arm. You need the arms to embrace, to reach. So Yahweh reached us through Mashiach the first and embraces us through the first. The last will come as the hand, in this case, that holds the head, because it is the hand that brings the testimony. So you see how it mentions the left holding the head, yet the right embracing. So he's kind of saying hand and arm, right, for what each would have to do. Obviously, you can also hold the head with the arm, but just saying how the left connects with the last and the right with the first. His left hand is under my head and his right arm embraces me. I have put you under oath, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles of, or by the doves of the field. Do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. Okay, let me see this in the other translation. Verse 7. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the roes and by the hinds of the field, that ye stir not up nor awake my love till he please. So yeah, they added here my, that's why the other one seemed weird. Until he please. So pretty much the bride, who actually very, very much loves the groom, is telling the other women not to go and wake him up until he wants to. Let him rest, right? Which is love for a person to respect somebody else's rest, right? But other than that, spiritually, it is like saying he will come when he pleases. Stop trying to, as they say, date setting. Stop inventing the rapture. Stop doing this and that. He will come. He will wake up when he decides. It is in his time, because his time is perfect. So I have put you under oath. Verse 7 right here. I have put you under oath, daughters of Jerusalem. Then it's where it says by the gazelles or by those of the field. Do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. In this case, right, when we don't see my love there, it would refer to, well, in this case, Yahweh, who is love. We should not force love. Love should be something that grows naturally. Obviously, I always mention how it is a decision. We must decide to love and then make the effort to love, but we cannot force others to love us. That was my point, right? So we should love everybody, but we cannot force anybody to love us. And if you love only those who love you, then you don't know what love is, because that would be conditional love, and then it's not true love, but it is a desire of something that you get from that person or thing that you claim to love, whatever it may be. So the point is, like if we see this as this translation that doesn't have the word my, do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. We need to do our best to be the best humans we can be, so that love may awaken the Almighty towards us. Right? For just like it says that he loved Yaakov, but he hated Esau. Why did he hate Esau? Because of his works, his bad fruits. So you cannot force the love of the Father. The only way is for you to do what is right, and then that will awake love towards you from the Father and other people. Do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. Then it says, the voice of my beloved, see, he is coming, leaping on the mountains, skipping on the hills. Right? So joyful to come for his bride. Look how he says, the voice of my beloved, see, he is coming. Yahushua is the word. The last is the voice. So Kol Dodi is pretty much the last, the voice of Mashiach, the beloved one. Kol Dodi Hine Ze Ba. Behold, he's coming. So that fits with our time as well, right? Behold, he's coming. Skipping on the mountains. And the other word used here, leaping on the mountains, skipping on the hills. Remember, mountains represent kingdoms, hills, nations. The voice of Yahweh, which is the last, comes as the branch of David, the beloved one. He's coming, going through kingdoms and going through nations. Joyful, and also like an ox. So Malachi 4:2-3. But to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings. Right? We just came out with that song on the 7th, Son of Righteousness. So it's perfect. And you shall go out and leap for joy like calves from the stall. And you shall go out and leap for joy like calves from the stall, because the last, who is the Son of Righteousness, comes as an ox. So his children will be like calves, leaping for joy, just like we see here, leaping on the mountains, skipping on the hills. The voice of my beloved, see, he's coming. My beloved is like a gazelle or like a young stag. How beautiful. Remember that, well, yeah, what was the study? I think it was yesterday. Yeah. Now we talk about Naphtali being like a gazelle because he was the fastest of all the children of Jacob. So he was used as the messenger. And in the negative, the enemy has taught Hermes, Mercury, the messenger of the gods, who then they turn into flesh, right, nowadays. So interestingly enough, the last who comes to fight the war with the mighty one of this world, just like Naphtali means my fight, my struggle, the last comes to struggle with the mighty one of this world. And he comes like Boaz, right? The pillar named Boaz, just like Boaz, the one who married Ruth. Boaz means being quick, doing things fast, just like the gazelle. Just like Naphtali was compared to a gazelle, and the last comes as the messenger of Mashiach and Yahweh. So therefore, the messenger of Elohim, the messenger of the mighty ones, coming to do his testimony fast, going to the kingdoms and the hill. I mean, the mountains and the hills, the kingdoms and the nations, like a gazelle, like the messenger. So confirming it here, what we read yesterday, and well, what we explained yesterday. My beloved is like a gazelle or like a young stag. See, he is standing behind our wall, looking through the windows, peering through the lattice. He's standing behind our wall. So he's the scripture pretty much saying he's right there. People can't see him because there's a wall in between, right? But he's looking through the window like a thief in the night. It's about to go through the window, the thief, right? but mentioned here, like, see, he is standing behind our wall. So he's about to be manifest, looking through the windows, right? Finding revelation of what's inside so that he can enter, peering through the lattice. Let me see, verse 9. My beloved is like a roe or a young hart. It's also interesting. So, harakim, other opening through which one may look, right? So a window or whatever else, he's just looking in, looking for his bride, like a thief in the night coming to this world, looking for his people. Harakim. But I want to see this. Stag, deer, hart. The ayal, which comes from ail, or ram. The ram represents authority, strength, as in the horns that became shofarot, right? The horn of the ram becomes a shofar. Like the last comes with a shofar, comes to announce, to prepare. My beloved is like no, let me go back here. My beloved is like a gazelle or like a young ram. See, he's standing behind our wall, looking through the windows, peering through the lattice or lattice. My beloved responded and said to me, rise up, my love, my beautiful one, and come away. You see, like a thief in the night, he came, looked through the window, and just said, my beloved, get up, let's go. The chosen few, get up, wake up, we gotta go. My beloved responded and said to me, rise up, my love, my beautiful one, and come away. The true congregation. And then they will be taken from this reality, taken to the prepared place. For look, the winter is past, the rain is over, gone. So look, the winter is past, right? The winter connects with this reality where there is sadness, wickedness, destruction. It's cold. The rain is over, gone. The flowers have appeared in the earth. So this is pretty much, like I said, preparing for the transformation, the harvest, in the sense that she's being taken away. My beloved responded and said to me, rise up, my love, my beautiful one, and come away. That's verse 10. Most likely says, okay, Ana dodi ve'amar li kumi. Responded my beloved and said to me, raise up, kumi. And that kum connects, like I always say, with the coming of the last, the descendant of Joseph. For look, the winter is past, the rain is over, gone. The flowers have appeared in the earth. The time of singing has come. Beautiful. The time of singing has come. And we're talking about the songs that are coming out. Hopefully the time of singing has come. So in the spiritual, we're speaking about the time when people will be glad, finally, that everything is over, that evil has paid, that has been destroyed, that there will be no more sin or inclination to evil. So it will be a time of joy, only joy, the time of singing. The flowers have appeared in the earth, meaning honor, splendor. The time of singing has come, and the voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. How beautiful confirmation. Wonderful, because you remember what I just spoke about in the previous chapter, right? So now look at this. And the voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. Verse 12. The Kol Hator, which is the name of the book. that refers to Mashiach ben Yosef, to whom this verb connects. And actually, you can read it on that book, Kol Hator. Kol Hator speaks about how this verb refers to the prophecy, the fulfillment of the prophecy of Yosef becoming king. So Kol Hator is the voice of the Tor, the voice of the Ruach, the messenger of Yahushua, the last, who will come. The flowers have appeared in the earth. So the honor of Yahweh is coming, starting to flower. The time of singing has come. Like I said, when it comes to the millennium, when there will be only joy, but also can be interpreted as the time of the testimony of the two witnesses, the first 3.5 years of the last 7, when they will bring the honor of Yahweh to the earth. Remember also that they have the power to stop the rain during the time of their prophecy. Revelation 11, they have power to stop the rain so that it doesn't rain during their prophecy. So it says here, the rain is over, gone. The flowers have appeared in the earth. The time of singing has come. And the voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. So that means the testimony of the last. The preaching of the last, which is the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. And the voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. The fig tree has ripened her figs. Remember, the fig tree represents Yahudah, the Yahudim. That's why when Mashiach came, the fig tree had no figs, only leaves. So he cursed it because he came to his people and his people rejected him. So now, in our time, when the voice of the turtle dove, the last, manifests, the veil will be taken away from the true Yahudim, so that the fig tree may give her figs. Right? How that's understood. Yahushua came and he had no figs. Now this would be saying that by the time the last comes, there will be figs. The fig tree has ripened her figs, and the vines with the tender grapes have given a good fragrance. So this pretty much the few and the many. The few represented by Yahudah, the fig tree, and the many represented by Israel, the vineyard. The few and the many that are harvested on Revelation 14. Rise up, my love, my beautiful one, and come away, confirming the harvest. Oh, my dove, in the clefts of the rock. Interesting. Verse 14. Yonati, my dove. You see how he was using Tor? Which is interesting as well. This word Tor, you know how in Spanish bull is said toro. So there is a connection there. Like I said, the last comes as a bull, as an ox. And I do believe there is a connection between those two words for several reasons. Not going to get into it, but now look how instead of Tor is using here Yonah. Yonati. Yonah is dove, Tor is turtle dove. Very similar. Hebrew, 2 different words. Yonah is the name of the prophet. As we know, Yahushua said that to the evil generation, it won't be given a sign except the sign of Yonah. So the last comes as Yonah. And they call him here Kol Hator, and now Yonati, or my dove, as Yonah. So in the clefts of the rock, remember, and let me go for a moment to Exodus 33. Then he said, Moshe said to Yahweh, please show me your esteem, your honor. And he said, I shall cause all my goodness to pass before you, and I shall proclaim the name of Yahweh. Now, I have explained this a lot, so sometimes I skip it. But in this chapter, Moshe asks Yahweh for him to show Moshe his way, and then to show his esteem. Yahushua said, I am the way. The last is the esteem. So Yahweh is revealing what the first and the last would do on earth when they would manifest through this chapter when Moshe asked. I'm not going to see the first. We've seen it in previous chapters. Here, I'm just going to focus on the last. And even I'm not going to mention that much, just this point. And he said, I shall cause all my goodness to pass before you, and I shall proclaim the name of Yahweh before you, and I shall favor him whom I favor, and shall have compassion on him whom I have compassion. But he said, you are unable to see my face, for no man does see me and live. And Yahweh said, see, there is a place with me, and you shall stand on the rock. You shall stand on the rock. That's verse 21. You shall stand al hatzur, on the rock. And then it says, and it shall be while my esteem passes by, that I shall put you in the cleft of the rock and cover you with my hand while I pass by. Cover you with my hand while I pass by, the cleft of the rock, 22. And behold, as I passed, my honor I will put you in the cleft of the rock. So here is saying it, Benikrat Hatzor. Here, it's saying it different, because instead of Tzor, it's saying Selah. Instead of the other one, it's saying here, Chakvi. So pretty much in the hole of the rock, the cleft of the rock. But you see the connection, although we just saw in Hebrew use different words. But it says, rise up, my love, my beautiful one, and come away. Oh, my dove, in the clefts of the rock. Right? Like Moshe hidden in Mashiach, being Mashiach, the rock. The last, when he manifests, needs to have Yahushua, the rock, to protect him, to cover him, to give him strength. So that's what the cleft of the rock represents, and Moshe being within. Oh, my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the covering of the cliff, let me see your appearance. So we just saw how he said, you cannot see me. And it shall be while my steam passes by, that I shall put you in the cleft of the rock and cover you with my hand while I pass by. Then I shall take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. So people will see the last, but won't recognize him until he has gone. I mean, till he died and resurrects. Then the many will realize what they did by rejecting him, and then they will have to die like him. So then I shall take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. So look what it says here. Oh, my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the covering of the cliff, let me see your appearance. Let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your appearance is lovely. Right? So this is pretty much the congregation telling the last, let me see you, let me recognize you, unlike the many. Is that clear? It is like a person that sees the thief and says, okay, I know you are good, not an evil thief, so let me see your face. I know you're coming for me to steal me from this evil owner, which is the mighty one of this world, pretty much. So, oh, my dove, in the clefts of the rocks, in the covering of the cliff, let me see your appearance. Let me hear your voice. As we know, the good shepherd is heard by the flock, and the true flock, his sheep, recognize him by his voice. Let me see your appearance. Let me hear your voice. So it is like saying, let me see you, but let me hear your voice to see if it is you. For your voice is sweet and your appearance is lovely. Catch the foxes for us. The foxes. Remember, Herod was a fox. Yahushua called him a fox. So the kings of the world, those who are wise as serpents, but not innocent as doves. The foxes represent wisdom, or, well, there's another word that is better than wisdom for this. Let me see how they write it here. Well, crafty. There's another word, but crafty does the job. So you see how the serpent, the Nahash, was more crafty than all the lives or the beasts of the field. So foxes are crafty, just like the wicked leaders of this world, like Herod. So now it says, catch the foxes for us. The little foxes that spoil the vines, right? The leaders who take advantage of the people and end up spoiling the peoples, the congregations, the nations, and our vines are all blossom. So Yahweh is telling, well, I mean, the congregation is telling the last to catch the evil leaders, get rid of them, the evil kings who have spoiled the sweetness of the nations, who have taken away the joy of the countries that they are supposed to serve, yet instead control and spoil. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vines, and our vines are all blossom. There is a story of how Shimshon tied the tails of a bunch of foxes and put fire in between, and with that it burned the vineyards of the Philistine, remember? So we see a connection with Shimshon, who catched the foxes to burn the vines of the wicked. So it is like the last who catches the foxes, because Shimshon is a representation of the last. That's why his name means son, for the last is the son of righteousness. And he will be strong because we can do all things through Mashiach, who strengthens us. So the strength of Mashiach was what Shimshon's strength represented. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vines, and our vines are all blossom. My beloved is mine, and I am his. This is one of the most known verses of this book. Is used a lot by couples in their weddings. Sometimes within the ring, this is written. And it says in Hebrew, verse 16, Dodi li va'ani lo. My beloved is mine, and I am his. So obviously, the congregation saying, my beloved Mashiach is mine, and I am his. Mashiach is for the congregation, and the congregation is his. He feeds his flock among the lilies. So he teaches his congregation in splendor, honor, beauty. That congregation being Israel, mainly. Until the day breaks and the shadows have fled. Until the day breaks, the end times, and the shadows have fled. When the millennium comes and there will be no shadows, no evil spirits, no demons. During the Shabbat, the millennium. Turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the mountains of Bether. So until this reality ends and the Shabbat begins, and therefore all evil will flee, will disappear. There will only be light. Turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle Verse 17. Till the day breaks, the shadow disappear. Turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle. Once again, right? Be quick, be fast. Come back, because he will die, resurrect, go up, and then come for the chosen few, right? He will die and resurrect after going through the world, through the hills and mountains, like a gazelle. He will be killed, resurrected, go up, take out Lucifer, and then come for his people. Once again, like a gazelle, because he will be in the blink of an eye. Like a ram, for he will defeat the enemy. And we could even say the gazelle and the ram, as in the two witnesses. My beloved, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the mountains of Beter. And Beter, to finish tonight's study, Beter, we see it here, cleft. Once again, connected with the last who comes as Moshe in Exodus 33 in the cleft of the rock. Also, it says divided, because he will divide the many and the few. I mean, well, he will take the few from the many whom he called, as well as he will divide the wheat from the tares. Beret, part peace. So, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the mountains of the division, the mountains of the cleft. So, like I said, when he comes quick to harvest through the kingdoms, he will divide the few from the many, and the many from the nations, and the nations from the wicked. And we can see the word beter as bat reish, or the daughter of the head. So come for the daughter, become the head. And that's how this chapter ends.